What a ripper.
Drake Tibble's got it. That is the record. The wicket-taking Test match record. Old Dennis Lillee to give Lillee 310 wickets in Test.
Richie Benaud was a very famous cricketer and then became a very famous commentator, and his voice is, synonymous with cricket, right? And what people may not realize is that after he passed away, there was quite a large legal dispute because Richie Benaud obviously did well during his life. He accumulated a number of assets, both in Australia and overseas, and, was enjoying the fruits of his success, right? And so what happened was Richie was initially married to Marsha, had a son, Marsha, called Greg, and then went through a divorce and went through a second marriage. And at the time of his passing, his will didn't leave anything for Marsha and Greg. So what happened then was that Marsha and Greg could challenge a will under the Family Provisions Act. And one of the requirements of that is that if they have not been adequately provided for in their lifetime. And Marsha wasn't, and she claimed that she wasn't because Marsha was living in government housing at the time of Richie's death. And if you think about this as a tabloid or as a newspaper headline, Richie Benaud, waterfront mansion, his second wife and children are living a great life and they've received everything out of his estate, where his whole first wife has been not only divorced and is now living in government housing and hasn't been provided for in the will. And so this meant that, they challenged and they successfully challenged.
What stood out to you from that case as a whole? What were some of the things that you can kind of highlight from the case? And
I think the main one is that Richie Benaud, he didn't adequately plan for what was going to happen. So in his estate planning, he failed to include Marsha and Greg at all, right? And that could be because, obviously, they've gone through a divorce, they're separated, they may be estranged. But it also means is that without getting legal advice, without talking to advisors about his situation, then he left him not being protected and left the estate being challenged, which meant lengthy court battle, which meant costs, time, resources, and it meant that the estate was going to be reduced in size because of the amount of costs and lawyer fees, right, and legal fees. So this case really shows that as your life changes, in Richie's case, going through a divorce, having a second family, that you still need to consider your first family, consider whether your obligations and duties to provide for your first family have been met. And to do so, you need to talk to a financial planner, you need to talk to a lawyer, because the better we can work with you, understand your situation, and then plan for that and document that, then the better we can hopefully protect your estate from being challenged.
okay, so what lessons could people take away from this case?
So there are a number of lessons, right? So the main one is always consider the evolving needs of loved ones when making a will, as family structures change over time. Seek expert legal advice when estate planning, especially with blended families, and these complexities require professional guidance. Discuss your will intentions openly with family members to avoid surprises later. In this case, when the estate goes into a dispute and goes to court, one of the ways to preserve the assets is actually to try to resolve this dispute and try mediation, because lengthy court battles will drain time and money, and mediation can potentially help the parties come to a solution quickly. And the final one is review and update your wills periodically and to minimize disputes over adequacy. And what this Richie Benaud's case really shows is the human aspect of estate planning. You've got to balance the legal soundness with providing for loved ones fairly and based on your changing circumstances. So clear communication coupled with expert advice are the key to help avoid conflict.